sports. It stated more people watched Below the Deck Mediterranean than Unrivaled first game of season 2. Now, y'all see all these shows on TNT. That's 60,000, 50,000, 40,000, 40,000, bruh. 30,000, 20,000, bruh. Come on now. Now, Napheesa Collier was saying how she was landing all of this stuff and doing all of these big things when
Commissioner Cathy Engelbert just finished explaining how she grasps viewership dynamics and understands what drives media rights deals and fair player compensation. Then the Unrivaled Season 2 premiere numbers dropped, and they're painting a completely different picture of what this commissioner actually gets. Below Deck Mediterranean outperformed Unrivaled in the ratings. A reality series about yacht crew shenanigans managed to top what was supposed to be the premier showcase of women's basketball stars. We're looking at 60,000 viewers for TNT content here. Unrivaled couldn't even reach those figures. This becomes crucial because Engelbert has been leveraging Unrivaled during CBA negotiations, framing it as evidence of the league's expanding worth and her successful leadership.
Look at your numbers. You know the old saying, men lie, women lie, and the numbers don't lie? Well, I'm here to tell you, the numbers ain't lying because Napheesa Collier is looking like Goofy of the Year. She got to be the goofiest person of the year. Her and Nika is looking like big-time Goofies of the Year, bruh. I just got to be honest, dog. At this point, Napheesa Collier is running out of time, and she need to be taken off the committee.
That statement carries more weight when you examine the real data. Facts don't lie, and currently the facts are showing us that Cathy Engelbert's bargaining stance rests on rapidly deteriorating ground. She entered CBA discussions, highlighting Unrivaled as demonstration of forward progress. She wielded it as ammunition to defend her choices and resist player requirements. But what makes this especially troubling is timing. The WNBA Players Association has been negotiating since last year. January 13th, 2025 was the set deadline. That deadline just passed without any agreement. One major reason discussions have hit a wall is Engelbert consistently overestimating the league's present standing. She keeps using projects like Unrivaled as supporting evidence that the numbers simply don't back up.
I mean, just the other day, she said, I am heartbroken to share that I will miss. No, well, yeah, she missed the Unrivaled season. This is actually an old article here. But we're going to skip past this, and we're going to get right to that action. And that action is this right here. WBPAT's response to Caitlin Clark's message of compressed and amid of CBA talks. It stated last month, Indiana Fever superstar Caitlin Clark spoke of the need of WNBA and Women's Basketball Players Association to find a way.
This is where it gets messy.
The union is pushing for revenue sharing as a fundamental piece of the new CBA. They're not demanding the impossible. Nneka Ogwumike went on record saying they've been sensible, adaptable, and grounded in their proposals. Yet Engelbert's team continues highlighting ventures and programs that allegedly demonstrate the league's worth is exploding upward. Problem is, Unrivaled's ratings just destroyed that whole narrative. When this Premier League starring WNBA talent can't beat yacht reality television, what foundation is Engelbert actually building her assessment on? Players are requesting a portion of income the league insists isn't available yet. But Engelbert has been operating like that money is just over the horizon. She's been pointing to Unrivaled and similar projects as signs of approaching expansion. The issue is approaching expansion needs to manifest in audience figures, and it's simply not happening.
Now, with the deadline looming, I spoke with Anika and Napheesa Collier about the state of negotiation, player unity, why they believe their stakes in other leagues are not conflicts of interest among those options. Now, however, Minnesota Lynx star Napheesa Collier and former WNBA MVP Nneka Ogwumike think the league led by Commissioner Cathy Engelbert has more ground to be covered. Now, I do want to let y'all know this is something that has not been talked about. Is part of the negotiation is for Cathy to step down. Now, we haven't heard about Cathy leaving for a mighty long time.
We're now moving into status quo phase. For anyone not familiar with labor talks, status quo means existing CBA conditions stay active during ongoing negotiations. Here's the crucial piece most people are overlooking, though. The WNBPA committee holds the power to execute a strike or lockout without needing full player approval. The committee can make that call directly. This isn't theoretical anymore. We've crossed the January 13th deadline. The league still has to run the draft lottery. They need to complete the WNBA draft. Free agency remains unfinished. Training camps require scheduling. Every operational piece of the 2025 season now hangs in the balance. Right in the center of this mess sits a commissioner, who just witnessed her bargaining power disappear. Engelbert can no longer reference Unrivaled's performance. She can't use those ratings to prove expanding worth. The data just destroyed her entire negotiation approach.
We just feel like the league is not arguing. Collier said, I think that we have been very compressing, like we're not asking for anything crazy. I think we've been very respectful, very realistic with what we are asking for. Agumake stated, I really do like the league needs to really to pay attention and listen and take notice of exactly what we're coming to the table with time and time again, because we've been in the room trying to figure out what we can do to get both sides.
This makes Caitlin Clark's recent comments so meaningful. She described this as the most significant moment the WNBA has ever experienced, something that cannot be mishandled. She stressed that supporters want to see the product on court, and finding a path to play next season matters tremendously. That's not just a rookie sharing thoughts. That's the league's top attraction, understanding what's at risk and creating public pressure. Here's where things get really uncomfortable, though. Reports are surfacing that negotiations might include Engelbert potentially resigning. We haven't heard serious talk about the commissioner departing in ages, but several owners have quietly shared doubts about her guidance. If removing Engelbert is genuinely being considered as part of these CBA discussions, that would explain why everything has ground to a halt. The players want Cathy Engelbert removed from any deal. That's not guesswork. That's actively being discussed as part of these talks, and when the commissioner's job stability becomes connected to the CBA, naturally, we can't reach any agreement.
Whatever the case may be, man, they is somehow not coming up with a solution to get us a 2026 season. And it looked like they could be using Caitlin Clark as leverage moving forward to get a job done. But we know the status quo thing means that a strike is coming. See, with the strike, we're going in the status quo from what I read earlier. That's basically stating that they don't need to vote with the players on going on strike. The WBPA committee has that right to implement a strike or a lockout from the owners or the players. They don't need.
Nneka Ogwumike's reaction strikes directly at the core issue. She explained the union has been present, working to identify ways both sides can find middle ground. They've shown exceptional flexibility and reasonableness, and watching the league fail to understand that player victories equal league victories feels disappointing and disheartening. That's a targeted criticism of Engelbert's bargaining method. The union is basically saying they've gone above and beyond seeking compromise, while the league keeps shifting expectations. When your negotiation tactics depend on highlighting success stories that prove to be disappointments, credibility vanishes quickly. Unrivaled was meant to prove women's basketball could capture attention throughout the year. It was supposed to show WNBA players are valuable contributors who can generate viewership beyond the regular season. Instead, it demonstrated that even with star talent and media support, audiences don't automatically appear. This doesn't mean women's basketball has no worth. It means Engelbert overestimated what Unrivaled would produce. She constructed her CBA approach around assumptions that didn't work out.
Starting on time. We're looking at June, July, maybe even August, starting the WNBA season. Each team got to go through training camp. Free agency got to happen. We forgetting about all of that. That everything is affected. So if they don't get a deal done by March, you still got to go through free agency, training camp, drafts, all these different tangibles, getting actually prepared for the season.
Here's the schedule that should worry every WNBA supporter. Without a deal by March 2025, the season cannot begin as planned. We're already mid-January, without any agreement. That leaves negotiators about 6 weeks to complete a CBA, run the draft lottery, conduct the WNBA draft, handle free agency, and move teams through training camp. That's completely unrealistic. Even reaching agreement tomorrow creates enormous operational difficulties with this compressed time frame. Teams require time for roster construction. Players need preparation periods. The league needs marketing time and ticket sales opportunities. Each day without resolution pushes the potential start further out. And here's what everyone's missing. USA Basketball has September commitment. If the WNBA season shifts to June, July, or August, you're examining a drastically shortened season that collides directly with international responsibilities. The whole schedule collapses.
Guys, and we got USA Basketball in September. Y'all got to look at this. If they don't get this deal done in the next 60 days, you can pretty much write this whole season off. And I'm telling you right now, the whole genre going to be affected. I'm the first one speaking about this. Get down in the comment section. Let me know y'all thoughts about this one. Keep them bills on. I will be back with more content. And until next time, man, shake the haters off. I'm out of here.
Now let's break down what we're really facing here. Cathy Engelbert walked into CBA negotiations believing she held strong cards. She referenced media rights agreements, expansion strategies, and projects like Unrivaled as proof the league was climbing upward. She used that apparent momentum to resist player requests for revenue sharing, claiming the money would eventually arrive, but isn't available now. Then Unrivaled's Season 2 debut posted figures that lost to reality television about yacht workers. That's not just minor embarrassment. That's watching a key support beam in Engelbert's negotiation framework crumble. She cannot realistically claim the league is seeing explosive expansion when the Showcase League struggles to attract viewers. Meanwhile, the players have stayed remarkably steady. They want revenue sharing. They want promises that when money does show up, they'll receive appropriate portions. They've stated publicly they're being sensible and adaptable. They've made clear that Engelbert's leadership creates problems. Now we've passed the deadline without resolution. Status quo kicks in. But that's temporary protection, not real answers. The WNBPA committee holds strike power. They don't need full membership votes. If they determine the league isn't bargaining honestly, they can stop everything. Consider what that means. We might be staring at no WNBA season in 2025, not because players are being difficult, not because the finances don't function, but because the commissioner based her bargaining stance on league worth assumptions that just got revealed as hopeful thinking. Caitlin Clark has it right. This represents the WNBA's biggest moment ever. The league finally has widespread attention. They finally have generational talent, capable of driving ratings and attracting new supporters. They finally possess infrastructure and investment to advance further. And everything could crumble because Cathy Engelbert pushed too hard. She looked at Unrivaled and found confirmation. She saw evidence her strategy was succeeding. She used it as leverage during her tenure's most critical negotiation. The numbers arrived. Below deck Mediterranean won. And suddenly Engelbert's whole position appears unstable. Players are requesting revenue portions that Engelbert keeps claiming will appear eventually. But if Unrivaled can't attract viewers, where will that revenue originate? If the league's premier ventures are under-delivering, why should players trust projections about future expansion? This happens when you negotiate using optimism rather than facts. Engelbert needed Unrivaled to work. She needed those ratings to support her league assessment. She needed evidence that women's basketball could demand attention and money outside the traditional WNBA season. She didn't receive it. Now she's facing a players' union with every reason to doubt her judgment and projection. They're looking at a commissioner who promised growth, pointed to Unrivaled as proof, then watched it lose to yacht drama. The deadline passed. We have no agreement. The season faces danger. At this crisis center sits a commissioner who just lost her main leverage piece. The union wants revenue sharing. Engelbert claims the revenue doesn't exist yet, but she can't reference Unrivaled anymore as proof it's approaching. So what comes next? Without agreement in the next 60 days, forget a May season start. We'd see June or July at earliest, assuming any deal gets reached. That compresses everything. Training camp gets shortened. The schedule becomes condensed. Teams get less chemistry building time, and everything crashes into September USA basketball obligation. The entire league calendar breaks down. And why? Because Cathy Engelbert overestimated Unrivaled's worth and constructed her CBA strategy around it. Because she highlighted ventures that weren't producing promised numbers. Because she negotiated like the money already existed when data shows otherwise. Nneka Ogwumike says players have been reasonable and flexible. She says they keep approaching the table seeking solutions. She says watching the league miss how player wins equal league wins feels disappointing. That's not empty words. That's a union leader explaining they've negotiated honestly while the other side hasn't responded similarly. Now we understand why. Engelbert's stance was constructed on unstable ground. Unrivaled was supposed to be it was supposed to prove women's basketball stars could generate viewership and income. Instead, it proved that even with investment and promotion, audiences don't automatically materialize. This doesn't mean the WNBA has no value. It means Engelbert calculated wrong. In negotiations this important, miscalculation brings consequences. Players are requesting revenue sharing with specific percentages and assurances. Engelbert pushes back because she doesn't believe the money exists currently. But she kept using unrivaled as evidence it was coming. The proof never appeared. Below Deck Mediterranean appeared instead. Now we're facing a potentially lost season because the commissioner's leverage vanished in real time. This is the WNBA's biggest moment ever. Caitlin Clark is correct about that. The league has never possessed this much attention, this much potential, this much at stake. Everything could collapse because Cathy Engelbert gambled on Unrivaled's success. The question now is whether she'll acknowledge her position needs adjustment or continue negotiating like the data supports her, when it clearly doesn't. Players have shown patience. They've demonstrated flexibility. They've been reasonable. But patience expires. Flexibility has boundaries. Reasonableness only functions when both sides operate honestly. If Engelbert keeps pointing to growth that isn't happening, the union has every right questioning whether she's bargaining truthfully. If they decide she isn't, they have authority to shut everything down. We're weeks away from discovering if rational minds succeed, but right now the 2025 WNBA season looks genuinely threatened. The commissioner supposed to guide the organization just watched her guidance system break down. So share your thoughts below. Can Engelbert recover these negotiations, or is her credibility too damaged following the unrivaled ratings catastrophe? And what happens to the league if we lose an entire season right when Caitlin Clark should be entering her prime?